Elizabeth Olten is our neighbor, was our neighbor at that time in 2009, and she lived three or four houses down, so not very far from us. And she would come over once in a while and play with Emma and Alyssa.
Two girls, one in elementary school, the other in high school. Their lives would collide in a way no one could have predicted. Wednesday, October 21st, 2009, 9-year-old Elizabeth Olten walks down her residential street in St. Martins, Missouri to play with her friend, 9-year-old Emma Bustamante, Alyssa's younger sister. But Elizabeth Olten never makes it back home.
That particular night I had a big church activity, and so I was preparing. I had to bring the treats, and we were going to be teaching dancing. It was for both the young men and the young women, and Alyssa was going. And I remember she asked if they could go over and see Elizabeth, and we said no, because it was already 4:30 and we needed to leave. Well, then I think she came back and asked if her and Emma could just go out in the forest for a little bit and come back. When I say forest, behind us there's like 60 acres and it's wooded, and we used to go out on hikes up there a lot. So we agreed that they could do that, and that's where we thought they were. And I distinctly remember the front door slamming open and Alyssa running up the stairs like a herd of elephants, which she didn't normally do.
6 o'clock, and then about 6:30, Elizabeth Olten's brother came over and was asking where Elizabeth was, and we didn't know. We had no idea. Why are you asking us? And I said, well, because she left and was with Alyssa. And I was like, whoa, I didn't know that. And so we asked Alyssa, and Alyssa kind of brushed it off and said, well, yeah, she was, but then she left and went home, or she thought she went home.
By the evening, panic has set in. Elizabeth's mother calls the police when her daughter misses curfew.
In 2009, I was serving as the sheriff of Cole County, Missouri. Well, on that Wednesday, actually at 7 p.m., I was at one of the local churches doing a church security workshop, and I received a phone call from one of my deputies that said they had a report of a missing child in the St. Martins area. And I left what I was doing and went out to that area, and we began looking towards search and rescue. It was a dark night. It was not just cloudy, but we had torrential rains, great winds. It was an uncomfortable time to be looking for a lost child out in the woods or in farm areas.
The Brookes watch as their quiet community transforms into a search grid overnight.
They had about 300 people were out looking, trying to find her. People we know, friends of ours, everyone was out trying to find her because we couldn't really figure out what could have happened. We were all just flabbergasted. We were just totally in the dark about what actually happened.
Initially, what happens on any event like this is you set up a command post, which we did. We also were talking with the mother of Elizabeth, the missing child, and finding out where she had been. We knew that she was at the residence where Alyssa Bustamante lived with her grandparents and her younger twin brothers. So obviously, we asked what had happened, when was the last time they saw her. Alyssa, to the best of my recollection, said that when it was time for Elizabeth to go home, she said she'd walk with her. Alyssa said that she left her walking towards her home, and that was the last time that she alleged to have seen her.
Search and rescue teams press on through the night despite the storm.
At that point, we're looking at perhaps she got lost in the woods or she fell and hurt herself. We set up a grid search with teams. We put electronic trackers on them, so we knew that we'd covered every square inch at least twice that night. And profound thanks to people that were working in extremely difficult circumstances. But we didn't find her or any indication of her. And we had to eventually call for that night because it simply became too dangerous to be in the woods. One of the other aspects that kept us on task in this certainly limited, big area, but limited, was the fact that she had a cell phone. And remember, in 2009, our capacity to isolate exactly where a cell phone is was greatly diminished from where it is today. Now you can get within feet, if not inches, depending on the circumstances. In that time, we knew within a certain area, we knew that the area we were searching, that phone was in that area. And you operate on the assumption that the person did not willingly leave a cell phone behind anywhere. We kept tracking, looking for that, until eventually the battery on the phone died.
Even with those tools, investigators are chasing shadows across a wide stretch of woods and farmland.
The next day, we partnered with the Missouri State Highway Patrol, and they set up checkpoints and literally stopped every vehicle that came through and asked what people had seen and that type of thing.
The search had become a race against time, with every hour that passed making the outcome feel more uncertain. As the effort to find Elizabeth drags into a second day, investigators begin to focus on the last person known to have seen her, 15-year-old Alyssa Bustamante.
We used the FBI's evidence recovery team to execute the search warrant, and they went through with a fine-tooth comb.
What they find behind Alyssa's bedroom door was far from the ordinary clutter of a teenager's life.
When you think of a child writing something on the wall, you think of a little kid with a crayon or a paintbrush or a magic marker. You don't think of a teenager immortalizing that which is aberrant to society, talking about, looking like there's blood on the wall or writing horrific statements on the wall. And her room reflects all of that worst of society, not the best.
And yet when investigators speak with Alyssa herself, she seems calm, even engaged.
I had met her briefly that first night. She appeared to be concerned that Elizabeth did not make it to her home. She was willing to engage with adults. She could carry on conversation. She wasn't intimidated by it.
To make sense of the contradictions, investigators widen their scope, looking to her friends, her church, her school for any clues.
Who's her friends at school? Who does she hang with? Go to her church. Who does she hang with? Talk to her grandparents, her parents. She hid so much of herself from even her closest contacts. But she surely shared her heart in her journal.
It turns out that was absolutely crucial to the case.
She wrote, "I just killed someone. I strangled them and slit their throat and stabbed them. Now they're dead. I don't know how to feel at the moment. It was amazing. I'm kind of nervous and shaky though right now. Kate, I gotta go to church now. LOL."
That single diary entry changes everything. Investigators no longer just have suspicion, they have a confession in her own handwriting. 15-year-old Alyssa Bustamante is taken into custody and prepared for questioning.
She's going to be taken to an interview room. She's going to be advised of her rights. And in her case, she immediately has an advocate present in the person of her grandmother and in the person of the juvenile officer. They're there as much to make sure her rights are protected as anything else. We really want to know, did you do it? Which the diary gave it to us, but we want to hear her say it. But we also want to know why.
Before anyone knew Alyssa Bustamante's name, she was just a teenager living in rural Missouri.
Alyssa was smart and active. She was, I guess you'd call her a tomboy. She liked playing outside. She liked climbing trees, and we had quite a few trees around, and she climbed them all.
Well, I was there when she was born, so I got to cut the cord when she was delivered. Her mother was just 16, and she was the teeniest little baby, so sweet.
Alyssa was the oldest of 4 children. She lived with her younger twin brothers and her little sister Emma in the care of their grandparents, Gary and Karen Brooke. The arrangement came after years of instability with their birth mother.
When Alyssa was 7, and right before the boys, her younger brothers, turned 3 years old, her mother came to California because she split up with her husband and didn't have anywhere to go. But we soon discovered that her mother was a drug addict, and what had been going on in Missouri was not good. The kids were not very well cared for. The sheriff's department there advised us to get custody of the children, and that's when we did.
Alyssa was quiet when she first came, and we just acted as if it were normal, and then she was fine. I know she was really happy with the school. Her mother had moved her around. At that time, she had been probably moved 8 times. And so she got to be in one home and have one school, and she was so happy to have that in her life, some stability. And so we got to see her blossom. We realized that she really did have a gift. She was intellectually, she was gifted, and nobody knew about it until now. And they tested her, and she was, and they put her in some of the gifted programs, and she was just doing really, really well. She was on the yard duty where they do the bus, and she would help kids that needed help, or if somebody's picking on them or whatever, she would help them. And so she was acknowledged with this award. And so we were proud of her, proud of her growth and where she was coming from.
To her younger brother, Nathaniel, Alyssa was more than a sister.
Alyssa is about 4 years older than me. So it's kind of like, she was kind of like our leader, I guess you would say, or not a mother per se, but just like, someone there to help us as a guide.
But Alyssa was also a child carrying wounds most couldn't see.
She was guarded. Before the incident, I call it, I only saw her cry one time. And it was after one of the times her mother had left. Her mother had left us around January, just before her birthday. And so she was very distraught about that. I mean, we didn't realize to the level that she was distraught. Her mother wasn't coming back. And I guess she decided that it was more than she could handle. She was in the downstairs bathroom, of course, completely unconscious. And we called the paramedics. They came, and so she actually was very fortunate to make at least physically, she made a full recovery.
That crisis put Alyssa in the hospital. But even after she came home, the signs of her pain were written on her body.
You could definitely see the scars, and she would definitely get in like dark moods where she wouldn't really talk, or you could tell that something was bothering her.
Unfortunately, it wasn't just a phase. It escalated until Alyssa's life was in danger, and it forced the family to seek medical help.
And that's when we started our time with the counselors here. And that's when they first started putting her on Prozac. She went on 20 milligrams at that time when she was between 12 and 13.
She was truly troubled, and truly at that time had been prescribed Prozac for her mental illness, and the prescription was not done properly. It was an adult dose, and she was 15 years old, and a small 15-year-old at that. She only weighed about 110 pounds. So the dose was too much. It made her wild, I guess you would say.
When Alyssa is brought into the interview room, detectives press her to recount her day.
We're going to start from Wednesday morning. Let's just kind of start there.
Okay.
Walk me through from the time you woke up in the morning. You woke up in the morning and walk me through exactly what happened.
So I went to school.
Okay.
And I was there all day. And then I came home on the bus, and I got home around 3. No, 4. 3:30. 3:30, 4. I get home around then, and I just hung out in my room for a little while. And then I went for a walk around 4:35, something like that. And I was just walking around in the forest for a while. And I was supposed to take my little sister with me, but I ditched her because she's annoying.
Once detectives have her version of the day laid out, they turn to the girl at the center of the search, Elizabeth Olten.
What can you tell me about Elizabeth? I don't know, other than her name and her date of birth here, I don't know anything about this girl. Tell me about Elizabeth.
Well, she's 9.
Okay.
I don't really know that much about her either.
I mean, tell me what you do know about her.
Okay. She'd come over and swim. She's kind of girly. She can be annoying.
After letting her talk around the edges, investigators steer the conversation to the questions that really matter.
Did you do anything to Elizabeth?
No,
Did you cause her disappearance?
no,
Did you kill her?
no,
Okay. Do you know where she's at right now?
no.
What do you think happened to Elizabeth?
Well, I really don't think she would run away because she's 9. And the way that they've been searching for 2 days, never found any sign of her. So I think that maybe someone kidnapped her or something. It's a terrible thing, but I don't know what else to assume.
Then come questions about the holes Alyssa had been seen digging.
Why did you dig that hole?
Because I was bored and I felt like doing something.
Tell me about that hole, though. It's a very specific hole. I mean, it's a very unique hole, I should say.
Are all of your holes like that?
No.
Okay.
But why? You dug the hole, so you know
Yes.
you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
That was a very, very unique hole.
I guess. I was digging. I mean, whatever shape comes to mind. I was just entertaining myself.
The reason I'm asking, it just seems like and you can understand why, as if people were out in the woods looking for,
Yeah.
if looking for a person,
Yes.
if they were lost, or God forbid, looking for, if they thought it was God forbid, a body, why they would be alarmed by that hole, because they're, come along a hole, freshly dug hole that was, we're talking about a perfect rectangle hole that is 3 by about 4.5, 5 foot, perfect rectangle. Perfect size of what would be a grave, or what you think of a small coffin. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's why so many people, I think, were alarmed by that hole, because that's the kind of hole that
makes
we as
sense.
investigators typically see when we find a body underneath it. For a 15-year-old girl to dig a perfectly rectangle 3 by 4 or 5 square rectangle hole, it just caught a lot of people as very odd.
That makes sense. It does.
What do you think about that?
Well, I guess, the timing for digging that hole was definitely not good.
Have you ever dug a hole like that before?
I have.
Where at?
I've buried animals. They're up behind the house. There's like a little hill that goes up, and there's trees, and there's like a little grave-ish site. We dug holes for dead cats.
Okay.
Okay.
We have your diary. We've read your diary,
Mm-hmm.
including the last entry.
Mm-hmm.
We both know what we're talking about here.
Mm-hmm.
Where's she at?
I don't know.
You need to tell us the truth. You need to tell us what happened. If this was an accident, that's fine, but we need the truth. We have to know the truth. That's all I'm asking for, is whatever happened, I have to know the truth. This is not going to go away. All I'm asking for is the truth. If this was an accident, that's fine. We can deal with that. But I have to know what happened. I have to know what the truth I have to know how this happened. And the most important thing is we have to know where she's at. We have to give this family some closure. Just like if this was your little sister, you would want closure. This family needs closure. Let's start at the beginning. Is this something that was planned out, or was this just an accident?
It was an accident.
With that word, investigators seize the opening. If she's willing to admit it was an accident, then they can push her further.
Why don't we start with what happened? You got home at 3:30, and then what happened from there?
I went in the forest, like I said. And Elizabeth was in there.
Was she alone?
Yeah. We decided to go hang out because it was a nice day. We were just messing around. She fell. She died. So I burned her body.
Investigators don't buy it. An accident doesn't square with what they already know, that Alyssa had been digging holes in the woods days before the disappearance. They begin pressing her on whether whatever happened to 9-year-old Elizabeth had been planned all along.
Why did you dig that hole? Was that for her? When did you dig the hole? You dug it ahead of time, didn't you?
I dug that hole on Wednesday.
Before you played with her.
Yes.
When we go and get the body here, it doesn't matter whether the body's burned or not. They'll go through and do an autopsy.
Okay.
And they will discover every injury on her body and the cause of death. And I understand you say she fell, and that's why she died. However, they will know from the autopsy if she was shot, if she was hit in the head, if her throat was cut. They will know all of that from the autopsy. So we need to know the truth, because at the end of the autopsy, they will know exactly how she died. So we need to know now the full truth, full disclosure right now, so it doesn't come out later that, well, Alyssa wasn't telling the full truth again. We need to have it all come out now. How did you kill her?
She died.
How did she die? 9-year-old girls don't just die.
We were messing around. And she fell back and hit her head.
Was her throat cut?
Yeah. Oh. I can't believe.
Grandma?
Oh my God.
She wants Grandma to leave. I'm not going to ask any questions right now until we get. Alyssa, I think you dug the hole ahead of time because you knew you were going to kill Elizabeth. I think you tried to dig the hole, like I said, and realized it was too hard to dig down that far. And I think you got Elizabeth out there and knew you were going to kill her. And then you cut her throat. Is that what happened?
Yes.
What did you use to cut her throat with?
Not.
A pocket knife? A kitchen knife?
Kitchen knife.
Okay. Where's that kitchen knife now?
And the sink,
In the sink of your house?
I believe so.
Okay. So you brought it back to the house with you? Okay. How many times did you stab her?
2, I
2.
think.
Or what? You tell me what happened.
Cut her throat and she died.
When did you dig the hole?
I done that when I was trying to find a place to hide her body.
So did you dig that after you killed her?
Mm-hmm.
Yes? Okay. So at about 5:30, you went out. Did you go to her house to get her?
I went over there and she was outside, so it's like, yeah.
You knew you were going to do it then? Okay, so you went over there about 5:30 and got her. Was Emma with you?
She was for part of the way. Like I said, I ditched her.
Ditched her?
Yeah.
Did you have the knife hidden on you? Or where was it at?
Yeah, I had it.
The investigators have pinned Alyssa down on the details: the knife, the timing, how she got Elizabeth alone. The next step is the most critical: pressing her on intent.
You had the knife with you. Had you made up your decision you were going to kill her then?
No.
At what point did you make the decision that you were going to kill her?
When we had been at the creek.
Okay. Why?
I don't know.
You just decided? Okay. Was she facing you? Was she turned around? What happened?
And she was turned around.
You just came up behind her and cut her throat? Is it true you said then you burned her body? Okay, is that part true?
Mm-hmm.
So is her body should still be there?
I burned it and then I scattered it in the pond or the creek.
Into the creek?
Yes.
Is the creek full of water?
Yes.
Her story keeps shifting from an accident to confusion to outright denial. Detectives circle back again and again, zeroing in on the hole as proof that this wasn't improvised, but planned.
When did you dig this hole?
Why?
When?
Wednesday.
The Wednesday before all this?
No. Wednesday it happened.
After or before you killed her?
After.
When would you have had time to dig that hole?
Before I came back.
You didn't have a shovel with you.
I had a knife.
You didn't dig that hole with a knife. When did you dig the hole?
After I killed her.
When after you killed her? Alyssa, you've got to tell the truth.
Well, you already know it.
You're telling the truth about how you killed her. I believe that, because that matches your diary. But you're still not telling the truth on the rest of this.
I did the whole Friday. I switched up the whole thing because I want to make it like an accident. But then it really was on Friday that I did the whole.
I know it wasn't an accident. I know you intended on killing her. brought her out there for that purpose. But the problem is your deception is causing us other issues here. You see, I mean, none of your times make any sense on you didn't dig it with a knife. We know that didn't happen.
It was Friday with the shovel.
Alyssa finally admits the hole was dug on Friday with a shovel, but her shifting answers still don't line up with the timeline investigators have already established. Her contradictions only fuel their suspicion that this was deliberate. With the hole, the timing, and the knife all in play, detectives turn their focus back to the killing itself.
I'm gonna have to get a larger map. The priority for, at least for us right now, is to recover her body so that family can get her back, so that they can bury her. So I'm gonna need your help, okay? In pointing out where that was, and maybe even if we have some problems, showing us where that was, where you put her in. Would you be willing to do that if we had to take us out there, if we can't find it on the map?
Now is the time to just tell the truth. That's all you have to do is tell the truth. There's parts of your story that don't make sense. They don't make sense. They don't make sense even to me. Because I am your advocate and I am here to protect you. I'm not going to ask the question, but there's statements that you're making that don't make sense. It's evident that you're lying. And we treat people who can't be honest completely different than we treat people who can be honest. This is your opportunity. It's your opportunity.
Okay, I didn't slit her throat, I strangled her.
Strangled her?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You strangled her with your hands?
Yes.
Okay. Did you have a knife on you?
Yes.
Did you cut her throat at any time?
Yes.
Cut her throat afterwards?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you strangled her first until she was unconscious, dead, and then you slit her throat?
Mm-hmm.
And did you stab her then?
Mm-hmm.
Did you do anything else to her?
No.
Okay. And then what happened after that?
Buried her body.
You buried her?
Yes.
Is your body still out there?
I think so.
You didn't burn her, did you?
No.
It's the moment of closure investigators had been fighting for.
Pretty quickly after her confession and her willingness to take investigators to the body, they did take her. She was never out of custody, and she did lead people to the recovery of the body. And honestly, that was helpful. We were able to bring closure to Elizabeth's family a little faster. When the body was recovered, it was in a shallow grave. It was covered with some debris. A lot of leaves were falling that time of the year. And people had walked right there. So it's not that that area wasn't covered, it was covered. The autopsy report is sufficient on all of the injuries, but the slicing to the throat, marks on the neck from attempted strangulation, stab marks, the depths of stabs, the violence, the anger demonstrated by the method of death.
Once Alyssa confesses, the question becomes not if she would face justice, but how.
She's detained as a juvenile, and then the application is made to try her as an adult. Because of the brutality of the event, of the homicide, they chose to apply to the court to get her treated as an adult rather than as a juvenile.
The stakes are life in prison. Her grandparents watch in horror as decisions are made without them.
Awaiting trial, she was in jail, and because she was a minor and because there was ill feeling against her, they thought she was in danger in jail, so they kept her in solitary confinement for 1.5 years. And by this time, year and a half in solitary, she was ready to do anything to get out of solitary.
That's the worst thing you could do to anybody, is to put them in solitary confinement. And then you put a youth in solitary confinement, and they'll pretty much agree to anything. Let me tell you, they will. And probably so would we.
So when her attorney suggested that they offer a guilty plea, she went along with it.
I would have suggested she not take that plea. Because they were just going through the court with that Miller versus Miller. And that was where they were going to make it where you can't have a life sentence for a juvenile. And we're still fighting that now. We're trying to get her sentencing reduced because she's got 2 30-year sentences, which is supposed to be illegal on a juvenile.
The plea brings certainty. Alyssa Bustamante admits to second-degree murder and armed criminal action, and the death penalty is now off the table. With the plea secured, the case moves into its final stage, sentencing. Alyssa stands shackled in the courtroom, facing Elizabeth Olten's devastated family, and says, quote, "If I could give my life to bring her back, I would. I'm sorry."
She didn't have remorse at that time. She just wanted to get out of solitary confinement. That was all that was on her mind.
I tend to disagree with my husband a little bit. I think that as best she could, that she truly did feel remorse. I think that as best she could, she really did feel the remorse. And if she could have switched places, she would have.
For Elizabeth's family, the words fall flat. They had already called Alyssa an evil monster. And for the judge, the brutality of the crime outweighed any apology. Understanding Alyssa Bustamante requires looking beyond her confession.
When somebody grows up in a family with addiction issues and a lot of instability, they don't have a safe haven for themselves. They don't know who they are. They don't know what's safe and what's not. They haven't been taught boundaries and possibly not been provided positive models on how to interact with the rest of the world. You think about this idea that perhaps something biologically was already off, and then when they're thrown into a troubling environment, that just creates this horrible perfect storm.
In February 2012, Alyssa Bustamante was sentenced to life with the possibility of parole plus 30 years. That means she won't be eligible for release for decades. Her grandparents are left to reconcile the sentence with the granddaughter they remember.
She has remorse now because now she's matured and finally understands what it was she has done. She hopes to get her sentence reduced. Otherwise, she has no hope. She can't imagine what life will be like 60 years in the future.
I just never, ever in my wildest dreams imagined that Alyssa would have the capability to do what she did that night. Never, never in my wildest dreams.
For her brother Nathaniel, the bond with his sister remains complicated but intact.
On the outside, people definitely see her as, a villain, but she's still family, and with the things that happened to her and stuff, it's hard to put, all the blame on her and not, other circumstances. I think that maybe it was the medicine that kind of drove her, crazy, I guess you would say.
Greg White, who watched the case unfold from the beginning, hasn't softened his view on Alyssa Bustamante.
Is she angry that she got caught? Probably a lot. I don't see any sense of repentance for what she did on her part. I was sitting on the couch talking with my wife, and I looked at her and I said, "Honey, I can't get my head wrapped around this." And I think my wife gave me the best advice that I'd ever had on any of that. She looked at me and she said, "Honey, if you could get your head wrapped around it, then I'd be worried for you."
Elizabeth Olten's family has fought tirelessly against Alyssa's early parole eligibility. In 2024, after a hearing that reopened old wounds, the parole board denied her release and pushed the next review years into the future. In 2021, Missouri lawmakers approved a change to the juvenile code that gave many young offenders a chance at parole after serving 15 years. But the law left an opening. It didn't exclude teenagers convicted of second-degree murder. That all changed in the summer of 2024 when Missouri Governor Mike Parsons signed Senate Bill 754. The new law closed the gap, ensuring that juveniles convicted of second-degree murder would not automatically be eligible for release after just 15 years. For Alyssa Bustamante, it means her first shot at freedom is pushed decades down the road into the 2040s. What had once looked like a possible parole hearing in her early 30s is now effectively off the table. Her grandparents, her brother, and the community of St. Martin's still live with the consequences of what she did. And for Elizabeth Olten's family, the loss of their 9-year-old daughter remains a wound that never heals. For Law&Crime Investigates, I'm Kristen Thorne.